Good morning or evening, friends. This is JP with Wise Guys Gaming, and I want to have a brief discussion about the state of Mortal Kombat. Now, there has been a lot of talk about Mortal Kombat and how it is dead. That game is dead. How dare you play that game? Oh, it's awful. Oh, it's dead. Ah. The game's not dead. Okay, the game's fine.
This will be told.
The game will be dead if people stop playing, but there are various reasons to stop playing and so on and so forth. So, a couple things I want to talk about. First and foremost is the game as it is. Number one, the game is fine. It's got a good story mode which brings in your casuals. The problem is I don't know that there's enough to keep casuals playing once story mode is gone. I don't know that there's enough to keep that going. Right now, if you are a casual player who doesn't really care about fighting games, you just like seeing what Mortal Kombat's doing, then you will have trouble playing after you beat the story mode and everything goes nuts. By the way, I say the story mode's fine because the last chapter is undoubtedly the best chapter when everything just kind of goes haywire. I don't think the game reaches that high anywhere else in it. Except maybe when Kenshi's thing happens. that was pretty nuts. But throughout the rest of the game, I don't think it ever really gets to that level. And I think it's good that they saved that, but I think the rest of the game is kind of passable. Like if it had just ended before the whole Armageddon thing, I think it would have just been an okay game. We would not have been talking about how great the story mode was if they cut that segment out, and that's kind of what I'm saying. It's an okay story mode. Megan Fox notwithstanding. I had to, I'm sorry, I had to. Number two. Invasions mode, I don't think is doing it. I don't think it's doing it at all. I don't think Invasions mode is bad. I just think, Street Fighter has that World Tour mode. I think that World Tour is a much more interesting version of Invasions mode. And Invasion mode has more to do. Kinda. So, I don't know. The whole thing is weird to me. I don't love it. I've played it. It's good that they kind of put unlockables in there to kind of entice you to play. But I don't think Invasion mode is really what would bring me back if I was not playing this game. If I were out and about and I was like, oh, there's a new Mortal Kombat, I gotta play it. I don't think the Invasion mode would be like, oh, this is where it's at, man. Now that the story's over, I'm just gonna play Invasion for the rest of my days. No, I don't think it'll do it. Because ultimately, Invasion mode really feels like arcade mode. And I'd rather have arcade mode because then I get an ending and all this other kind of stuff. So I think that they should update Invasion mode somehow. Even if they just keep the isometric 2D stuff, or 3D stuff, the isometric 3D stuff, and just let you roam free and have rooms that you have to unlock and all that kind of stuff. Like, imagine Invasion mode with the same setup, but movement like Diablo. You know what I mean? They put you in Invasion Dungeon, you pick your character, you go around, there's still doors you gotta unlock, chests to find, all these kinds of things. You can still do all of those things. It's just not like a board game where you go step by step by step by step. I think that would be cool. But even then, I think it's a little bit cumbersome, and I don't know that that's going to be the thing that makes people want to continue to play. I just don't. I would like to do these matches another way, but unfortunately, they still have not fixed the replay thing. Even if replay was its own mode, man, I would love it. If replay was its own little mode where you could just sit back and play, and, once you go to the replay section, you only get to do replays. That'd be great. But no, here we are.
Round one.
Anywho, I think that would be great for an update for Invasions. I think more importantly than updating that one game mode would be to update the matchmaking system. And by that I mean, right now, the way you play, you say, I want to play Mortal Kombat. I go to Combat League, I press A to search for matches. It begins to search for matches, and then it gives me a potential choice only by ping. Like, it only gives me my connection. And I have to make a decision with my connection. And then afterwards, once me and my opponent have made that decision, preferably they've been paying attention, because otherwise I have to wait for my opponent to make that decision. Once we've both made the decision, we then have to make yet another decision agreeing to the match. And I think that's a little bit cumbersome. And then wait for the match to build up. I don't think that's necessary. The way I would change that is show like a player card with no name. Or something like that. Like a player card with no name or something like that. And and then show the connection. If the person wants to continue, if the person wants to play, you press A based off of just those factors, the player card and the connection. And if you select A, then that's who you're fighting. That's it. You shouldn't have to do that twice. That doesn't make sense to do that twice. I know the reason that, well, I won't say it doesn't make sense because I understand exactly what they're doing. They want you to be able to make the informed decision to not lose any Combat League points based off of the person's connection. If you see a crappy connection, you should not have to lose combat points to play that. I think that's great. I think that's the right direction. However, their second thing is, we do want you to lose combat points if your decision is to run away from an opponent. So if I'm playing and I see Justin Wong, I should not be able to run because it's Justin Wong. If I do run, I should lose combat points, mainly because that would be unfair to somebody like Justin Wong or Sonic Fox, better choice, but that would be unfair to them. They would never really get a good match because most people would not be willing to play them just by name alone. They'd have to come up with the Smurf accounts and all that kind of stuff. Instead, you just play the match. I like that idea that you want to punish people for running from opponents and trying to only get good opponents, or only get bad opponents to boost their level up. However, I think it can just be done in one shot. Just if you accept this match from jump, if the connection's good, you play the match, and then we go from there. I shouldn't even have the option of running from the other person. It should be that simple. It should just really be that simple. It doesn't have to be difficult. But they have those two choices, and I don't like them. I think we may have talked about the fatality issue. If I haven't, let me go ahead and say I would change fatalities. I would say that fatalities should only be used at the end, ready, of the set. You should not finish him until you have won 2 out of 3 matches. That's right, you have to win 2 out of 3 before you can choose to do a fatality. And or take fatalities out entirely in Combat League. You can get your fatalities in player matches, but not in Combat League. I think that's fair too. And the reason being, again, because there are things that just objectively feel bad. If I'm playing a match and my opponent wins in the last round due to a fatal blow, he has to watch. I have to watch the entirety of that fatal blow. Can't leave, can't do anything. The game is over. They've won, and I have to watch the fatal blow. That's fine. Then they get out of the fatal blow, and it says finish him. So they teabag a little, and then they go to a fatality that I have to watch as well. This encourages people rage quitting. Because nobody wants to just... The whole point of playing the game is playing the game. Nobody wants to sit there and play a game where basically you're just watching your opponent kill you. No, that's not as fun. And, you know, you can quit, but why do we want to rage quit? And I know the game is kind of built off of BM and, you know, players being salty and all that kind of stuff. That was dope. I actually like this matchup a lot because his first round he played like crap to me. The second round I kind of wised up to it a little bit, or the second game I wised up to it a little bit, and then the third game he's changed his style just a little bit, and it was enough to throw me off. I should have still won that, but it was enough to throw me off. He played a lot smarter that third game, and I think it went really well for him because of that. Shout out to him. Anyway, but that's kind of how I feel. Fatalities should not be in Combat League, or if it is in Combat League, it should only be at the end of a set. You can keep the brutalities in because brutalities are more difficult to obtain. You have to set brutalities up. You have to be, you have to hit moves at the end. You have to try to, like, Reiko has a brutality with his command grab. You have to make sure you hit that command grab at the very end when they don't have a lot of life. It's not hard. You know what I mean? You know, you can set it up. But if I see you going for it, then I can try to deny you, and I might get a chance to win based off you being greedy. And then you get the people who are like, I would have won, but I was just trying to do a brutality. You wouldn't have won otherwise. Doesn't matter. You made that decision. If I played a basketball game against LeBron James, and he says, well, you know, I would have beat you, but I was trying to shoot with my feet only. Doesn't matter. You chose that. I still beat LeBron James. And that's what I'm going to tell everybody. And yes, he can have that excuse. That's perfectly fine. Doesn't matter. Still won. You shouldn't have been playing around. You should have took me like... Understood that I'm a threat, LeBron. We'll see you on the court. I would play LeBron 1v1, by the way. I would lose, but I would definitely play LeBron 1v1. I'd play Jordan and LeBron 1v1. That's right. I'm crazy. And I don't care about losing. Who cares about losing? You lost the game. Oh no. Anyway, so I would make that modification to the game. I think that is a quality of life modification. The problem is I think people really like fatalities. I think a lot of people only play Mortal Kombat because it has fatalities. And they like to be able to do that little extra at the end of the game. Also, I would take out easy fatalities in Combat League. Either you know the fatality, or you don't use the fatality. I think that's perfectly fine. Go back to where you had to know your character. So, I think that's great. I would make those small changes. The only way I would keep Mortal Kombat... The only way I would keep fatalities in Combat League is if you brought back Mercy. If you bring back Mercies, then it makes sense to keep them in every game, because the opponent can opt to give you the opportunity to try harder or to try again, which I take all the time. Like I'm a real big fan of. It's a close match. Let's do Mercy, so that way I give you every chance in the world to play. You know what I mean? I think that's respectable. That's fine. Unfortunately, that is not the case with the way this game is played. Not just yet. Maybe they'll change it. I don't know. I think I've heard a rumor that they're bringing back Mercies. And if they do, that's great. I think that's a good change for the game. However, I don't think it's necessary. I mean, again, I would just change how I did that. Because living in this kind of online age, and don't get me wrong, I take some level of gratification from people who rage quit. Because there's something about knowing I beat you to a level that you couldn't take it anymore. You throw in the towel! Throw in the dang towel! There's something about that. I'm not gonna lie. Would I rather just beat you? Sure. But there is some gratification in knowing that I made you quit. You gave up. Not only did you give up, you gave up on yourself. Mid-game, you gave up on yourself. But a rage quit isn't as fun if I've already won it. You know, if they rage quit like right there at the end of the screen, the ending screen, who cares? Who cares about your rage quit there? You know, the game's already done. And unfortunately, the way the system works, if you rage quit, your opponent has to, like the system has to wait and acknowledge it, and then your opponent has to wait for the system to acknowledge it to be released to play. There are a lot of situations like that. I've talked about those before. Like when you leave a game, basically whoever goes to next match or exit to lobby first gets out. And the other person has to sit and wait for the game to recognize that person's gone, that person has exited the match, and then let you get out. It's weird. I don't like that. It's weird. I don't like it. Change it. So if I had money, I think that's what I would do. Also, if I had money, I would sink whatever I have into the next level of DLC. Not the characters that we know are coming out, but the next storyline that we got. I would take the first, like if I had the money right now, what I would do is, if we have the first chapter of our next DLC planned, with the next season, I would absolutely release that with the season. Both things would come out at the same time. So, you get the, I lost what I was going to say. You get a little taste of what's to come, and that kind of, like, you know, just something to bridge that gap and see what, you know, Quan Chi and all them are doing. But also, you get just enough to make people who bought the game just for the story mode to get them excited. They can be like, oh man, something new's coming. Like almost the Netflix model, where I'm gonna give you an episode each time, right? Instead of giving you all the episodes at once. Well, that's not really Netflix. That's old Netflix. The old Netflix used to give you everything. But like I was watching Dropout the other day. I was watching a Game Changer on Dropout, and they give you the first episode of the new season. They don't have to give you the new season. They just give you the first episode, and that should be enough. We'll give you the next week. I think they should do that here. They should give the first episode of a piece of DLC and just give it episodically every time they do a new DLC. So imagine with the Quan Chi, I won't even say Quan Chi, with the Chameleon reveal, when they gave you Quan Chi and Chameleon, they gave you the first chapter of the next DLC right there. That keeps people playing the game. You don't have to wait for a bulk and then be like, oh, we can get it all together. It keeps people playing the game, and it keeps content creators continuing to play your game and keeping you live on Twitch. Just piecemeal that. You don't have to do it all at the same time. Plus, if you do it right with cliffhangers at the end of each one, like imagine if the end of the first season was Liu Kang and his army walking up to fight Shang Tsung and his army. Right? That would have been great. Stuff like that. You don't have to make it ridiculous, but you can do stuff like that to make it a little bit more hype. But I would do that with my DLC. I would make sure my DLC story is pristine. And I would add more things like Test Your Might in story mode. QTE events and stuff like that to make you... A story mode is great. A cinematic story mode is great, but it's also good to be able to play. Because this is a game, and while it is great to watch cool stuff, it is also great to play cool stuff. Does my opponent here know that my Fatal Blow is a grab? Doesn't appear to. Excellent. Anyway, those are the things I would change. I know this is a little bit rambly. This is like the fourth time I've done this. I'm not redoing it. Sorry. It's a little rambly, but those are the things that I would change. I would make sure my matchmaking is a little more streamlined. I would make sure my DLC would be hype. I would change the way invasions worked, and I would change the way fatalities worked, or add mercy. One of those two. And I think those things would do a wonderful change to the game and just the way the game feels when it's played. I'm sure you have other suggestions, and I'm sure you can make them come out a lot easier than I did and don't not stumble through them. But again, fourth time, and I gotta go to work. I got like 4 minutes to be at work. But technically right now I'm my own boss, so I can penalize myself for being late. Bad me. Anyway, that'll be about it. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. If I got rambly here and you want something more streamlined, I might do that. I do want to make a video talking about what I think is good about this game, because I think it's too much talking about what's bad about the game. It's so easy to crap on the game. It's so easy. And I don't think the game is that bad. It's a C-worthy game. Like, it's a C-level game. I would say Street Fighter 6 is about a B. Haven't played Tekken yet, but from what I played on the demo, it's B+ to A. It's really good. Street Fighter might be a B+. I think they could have done a little bit better with World Tour mode, and I don't like how they do their DLC packages, but right now I don't like how anybody does DLC packages, and quite frankly, I'm going to say this, whether y'all like it or not, bring back loot boxes. That's right, I said it. Bring back loot boxes. Shout out to Jared, because he agrees with me. Anyway, but, you know, well, that's a story for another day. We'll talk about that. If you want to hear more or have any questions, concerns, or complaints, feel free to leave a message down in the comments, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful month. Just be good. Be great. Go out there and kill it. Fatality life. That sounds weird. All right, then. Thanks for watching. Peace out.